the mental skill set of that we know how to win. I'm gonna go educate myself overnight, whether it's in fighting and you're like, man, I'm going up against this fighter, they've got a really good arm bar or whatever, I gotta figure out, let me go dissect how they do it, how they set it up, how to defeat it and all that, and you'll work through that process. And then I might not know how to beat this right now, but I'm going to give me 24 hours. Let me go pull up YouTube, Google, books, resources, call some friends, whatever it is. I'm gonna solve that problem because I'm not gonna let that thing beat me.
Today we're gonna talk about discipline, identity, and purpose. Welcome from the fight to fortune, where high performance meets freedom. I'm Claudia Gadelha as I dive into the mindset strategies and tools that transform athletes and entrepreneurs into life champions in and out of the arena. Today I have a special guest here, Brian Janson. I wanted to introduce you, but you have so many titles and so many stories to tell us. And you know, I love your story. I love what you have done in life. And I feel like there is a connection between the military and professional athletes, especially fighters. There is the discipline, the consistency, the identity crisis we go through when we are out of the sport or the military. And I want to ask you to introduce yourself to my audience and share a little bit of your story.
Absolutely. Lieutenant Colonel Brian Janson, still active duty. I've been in the Army now actively for a little over 21 years, but I did come in to the Army in June of 2000. Went to West Point, the United States Military Academy, went to play football, Division I football, so got to play all those fun games, was a strong safety, was also on the track and field team at West Point, and then commissioned in 2005. And yeah, I've went through the whole Army ranks up till now. After like 20 years, I've done 2 tours to Iraq in Ramadi for the Battle of Ramadi in 2006, back again in 2008 in Bakuba, in South Balad Ruz, then 2 trips to Afghanistan, first time in East Paktika, right on the Pakistan border in 2011-12, where I commanded combat outpost Boris, Iraq, and Tilman. Was back again in 17-18, as well in Afghanistan. Been around the world doing all of that. Obviously been through the fight career, through the MMA, the boxing, and Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt under Renato and Raquel Canuto at Hybrid Jiu-Jitsu here in Vegas. Yeah, around the world and back again.
Yeah. No, you have done a lot. You know, I was looking at my resume the other day. I was like, I'm 36 and I've done all these things, and I love to meet people that are driven to just accomplish so many things in life and really squeeze everything out of life. I love people that close the gap between who they are and who they really have the potential to be. So many people waste that in life. So I'm happy to know you and to be around you. What is your leadership background? You understand a lot about leadership.
Yeah, so actually it's funny. So actually at West Point, my undergraduate degree was in leadership, or like sociology, with a minor in systems engineering. But I've led, we say, from a tactical level, so from small teams of like 3, 4, 5-man groups in Iraq, all the way up to when I was a commander, I had about 320 plus individuals, soldiers and troops underneath me in Afghanistan. All the way up to before I came here to Vegas, when I was the deputy commander for the 3rd Infantry Division, Division Artillery. Up underneath us, we had about 2,500 to 3,000 troops all rolled up underneath there. So have led from literally the small unit tactical levels all the way up to large organizational type leadership.
Yeah. So. That's so cool. You know, in the world we live today, there is a big lack of leaders. Mm-hmm. I struggled with not having enough mentors in my fighting career. I had good ones, but then every time I moved and transitioned, it was so hard to find really good leaders. And now in the corporate world, I see how hard it is to really build good leaders. What do you think makes a great leader?
I think there's a lot of things between humility, being humble, being a servant leader. You know, I think a lot of people mistaken leadership as, hey, I have to push everybody to go do everything for me. That's not a leader. I think when you can lead by example and get out in front of the problems and help pull people along to show them the right way. When I've talked like my lieutenants, captains, majors, and all that, and we have subordinates underneath us, one of the things I think I've always told them was, when you look at your subordinates, train yourself out of a job. When I have like my number 2, 3, 4 guys underneath me, I want to train them. I want to get them so good that they can literally do my job for me, not because I want them to do it for me, but because they are that good that they can bump up and they can move to that next level. So if I'm training them to replace me, then I should be being able, and everybody's doing that up the ladder, we're going to pull each other up and everybody's going to get better and better and better along that way. So, I mean, I think I would say it's no different than like in jiu-jitsu and all that. Black belts are trying to train the brown belts to pull them up. Brown belts helping purples helping blues helping whites, and we're all trying to pull each other up that ladder. So I think with leadership, it's kind of the same way. If I can get out and show you the right way and I can demonstrate the right way and do the sacrifices for those subordinates, they're going to follow that. They're going to appreciate that.
Yeah, what I see a lot in leaders is like internal problems. I see leaders that, sometimes they deal with their own ego, their own trauma, insecurities, and then that shows up in leadership, and I have a high performance training program where I help CEOs and leaders to be better, and one of the biggest struggles I see in people trying to work through their stuff is actually like spending the time understanding who they are. I think one of the biggest things for you to become successful in life is to understand, number one, understand who you are. Number two, understand what do you want out of life, And I feel like a lot of people don't have that clarity, and then they let their traumas and their ego on the way, and that shows up in the corporate world, that shows up in even in jiu-jitsu and MMA. I see that all the time. If you were coaching, let's say somebody out of the military, a CEO or a executive in a big company, how would you help them to be better leaders to their team?
I think everything starts with yourself. So some of the time I think a lot of people will go, okay, hey, well, what's the issue that you have? And they'll tell me, oh, we've failed at this system is failing, or this is not working here at work. Like, okay, so what is causing that? And a lot of times they'll start pointing the fingers right away. This guy doesn't know how to do this, she doesn't do this well enough, they don't understand this problem, they don't understand it's always they, finger point and all that. And I would say, hey, start with the individual. Why are they doing that? What are you doing? What is the message you're conveying to them? Did you give them a task, task and a purpose, and then the expectations of what they're supposed to do? Did you walk them through that? Did you show them how to do that? What are you doing to help fix that problem? And so I think when you can start taking on that leadership role yourself and going, okay, hey, what did I do to help fix this? What can I do to help fix this? And maybe it is they didn't understand the clarity of it. They didn't understand what your vision was for it. And then empowering the subordinates. I think sometimes again we mistake in leadership of you have to do everything, or you have to be the one that's your idea, your way, etc. But if I can get my subordinate and go, hey, here's the end state that we need to get to. Here's kind of the task, what I'm providing you with it. Let me know, how do you think you're going to solve this problem best? What is your way to go do this? Put together your plan and come and let me know, and we'll work through this. 9 times out of 10, they're going to come back and go, okay, because they want to take pride and ownership of that solution now because it's on them. And they're going to come back and go, hey, boss, here's what I've got, here's what I'm doing, here's how I think I'm going to solve this. Okay, cool. Now maybe I can help refine that a little bit. If I'm the senior person, I might have a little bit of expertise and go, okay, cool, that's a 90% solution. Maybe did you think about this or that? Maybe we'll polish and buff up these 1 or 2 little edges on it. And they go, all right, cool, got it. But now that's their solution. Now, when you own something like that, you're going to take it and you're going to drive it that much further than if it's like, I'm just doing this because the boss told me to do this. He told me I had to go do this, and so I'm just doing it. But if you give them that empowerment of like, okay, now it's on you. This is your job and your plan to go execute. I think they take that, they run that, and then they take pride with it. I think on the flip side of that too is then, hey, we say like never use your soldiers as your background. I'll never use my soldiers to light me up and host me up as a leader. I always want to host them up. When it's a failure, it's on me, but when it's a success, it's on them. And I think we lose that sometimes on the corporate side. I'm sure everybody can relate to that, where boss gives a task to the subordinate, they go execute it, they do a great thing, and then all of a sudden it's the boss that's in front of the cameras that's taking the rap for it of, hey, I did this and my team did this, but I'm the one, you know what I mean? It's my project versus, no, hey, that was Claudia, she took this on, she was the project lead for this, she crushed it, she knocked it out of the park, like let's host her up because she did an awesome job with her team. I think that helps out too when subordinates see that they know their leaders are going to empower them, and then, you know what I mean, reward them at the end and show them and give credit where credit's due is a huge thing.
Yeah, no, that's so good, because I see that all the time where bosses, they just want to take all the with all their pride, they want
Yeah.
to show to everybody that they did the job, but they have a team underneath them
Yeah.
that actually did a lot of the work and maybe most of the work.
Yeah.
Right? And I think the world needs more leaders and better leaders that can lead with empathy, that can look at people and
Yeah.
really build them. Like you said, I love the analogy of jiu-jitsu
Yeah.
to this, because as a black belt, you watch a white belt and you want to help the white belt to be a blue belt, then a purple belt, then a brown belt. Eventually,
Yeah.
you want to make the white belt, you want to turn the white belt into a black belt that's better than you.
Absolutely.
That's the ultimate goal.
Yeah.
And I love that analogy for leadership, which leads us to the jiu-jitsu conversation that I want to have with you, because jiu-jitsu helps with so many things in life. It helps.
Oh, 1,000%.
Consistency. It kind of rewires your brain and teaches you to solve problems.
Yeah.
And I feel like when you become a black belt in jiu-jitsu, everything else in your life is easier because you become a problem solver. And you, like, when I go train in the morning, I have my arm twisted a few times. I had somebody trying to choke me out a few times.
Yeah.
And I go to work, whatever happens at work, I'm like, I literally had to tap a couple times to other people, and
Yeah.
I'm humble enough to like listen. What's the problem? How much jiu-jitsu has helped you in your military life? Is there any correlation?
1,000%, 1,000%. Everything from, yes, getting choked and twisted and all that type of stuff, to being able to solve complex problems while under stress. I mean, my training partner, Big Hanato, well, 260, 270 pounds of him. And so when I'm sitting on bottom side control and he's laying on top of me, putting all that weight and pressure on top of me, I'm having to solve, how do I get out of that situation? It's uncomfortable. I can't breathe that well, etc. But instead of panicking, like a general white belt, you're panicking, you're trying to push and all that. When you get to that black belt, it's like, okay, I'm not going to die down here. I can breathe, I can relax, and I can solve that issue one step at a time. Get a good frame, get a good shrimp out, get a leg in, whatever it is. I think that translates so much into the military. Is that, been through numerous firefights, and that leader out there that can stay calm under pressure and can stay calm when bullets are flying, that's what everybody needs and everybody looks to. If you've got a team out there, a platoon of 30 individuals, 30 guys out there, and bullets start flying, and that platoon leader, that leader all of a sudden is screaming and shouting and panicking and running all over the place and all that, and it's not cool, calm, in that firefight, everybody starts to panic then. Like if the leader's panicking, then everybody starts to panic. So when I think that mindset of like, okay, cool, I can use my jiu-jitsu to kind of calm me down, get my breath, assess the situation, what are my options, what's the best way to get out of the situation, and then execute. Same thing in a firefight. Okay, boom, I'm taking fire from this direction. Everybody okay? Cool. Let's lay down suppressive fire, let's regain the advantage. Okay, now how are we gonna move out this? Do we counterattack? Do we have to back up? I start looking at solving that problem, that complex problem, while I'm cool, calm, and collected. And now when everybody else is panicking, they look to the leader, and I'm very, calmly going, hey, you take your team and go over here. You guys lay down the suppressive fire and stay right here. And I'm just giving clear, concise directions, and I'm very cool, calm, and collected. It soothes everybody else down, and they know, oh, all we're running is our battle drills now, which, it's basically the same in jiu-jitsu. You're running your battle drills. You're just doing hey, I know here's my step 1, 2, 3 in order to get out of the situation. You kind of got your routine down. We do the same thing in the military as team drills. And when they see that leader cool and calm, people tend to execute a lot more cooler and calmly that way. So.
Yeah, like I can see jiu-jitsu working in every area of life, but I think what you guys go through in life, serving a nation, helping people, and leading others, and getting into combat where you can literally lose your life or your friend's life, and your group, your whole group in some cases. I think, if you don't do something like jiu-jitsu, which is a therapy, it's an activity that really trains your mind and your body.
Yeah.
It's very hard to stay calm in this situation. So, like when I look at people in the military that don't have a way to excel outside of their environment, it worries me, because when I see people retiring from the military and kind of losing themselves, it kind of means that there was so much trauma that wasn't healed through life that you got to a point where you kind of lose yourself. And I think this is a very important thing to do as well. Like as fighters, we have to train our mind and our body. And I remember like back in the day when I started doing therapy and talking to a psychologist, many of my teammates, they would be like, no, we fight. We don't do that here. Back in the day it was like that. Just like in the beginning of my fighting career, I would get injured, and if I went in PT, they would laugh at me. You know, I went to college, they would laugh at me because we fought. That's how we got good at fighting, was just fighting, right? In Brazil, like I was with Jose Aldo and all the guys from Novo União, and we didn't know what recovery was. We didn't know what therapy was. We didn't know what talking to a psychologist was. But we kept like trying to heal ourselves on the go. So do you think that you guys have to kind of talk to somebody throughout your career? You need therapists like jiu-jitsu to be able to go through?
I think across all the things you hit on, 100% spot on. Obviously on the physical side is just like fighters, military, especially our combat arms guys, our artillerymen, infantrymen, tankers, the guys out there on the front lines. It's like fighters, hey, if you're injured, hey, put some tape on it, take an aspirin, rub some dirt on it. Hey, you just keep going. And so for us, it helps with our retirement, because eventually when you get to the end and retire and they go, wait a second, you're trying to get some disability, but your medical sheet here has nothing in here because you've never gone to the doctor. It's like, oh, well, I'm being pieced together with duct tape and aspirin. So it helps out with that, but also it helps you become a better soldier, better troop, better leader, all of that when you are actually getting that recovery. Obviously on like the PTSD, I'll call it that type side of the house, a psychology side of the house, absolutely, that's huge. And when I first came in, there was kind of a huge stigma with, if you went there, that meant that you were weak, it meant that you were not tough, it meant that you were mentally unstable and all that. And I think we've come like a full 180. We've come a long way on the military side of that, where you have generals and sergeant majors, some of our senior leaders for the last 10, 15 years coming out and going, hey, it's okay to go to behavioral health. It's okay to go see the psychologist. I'm going, he's going, we're all going together and all that. I know when I was a commander and I had those few hundred troops under me, when we got back from that Afghanistan, which was a very bloody, very tough deployment, my first sergeant, Ricky Jackson, is now Sergeant Major Jackson, awesome, one of the best leaders I've ever worked with. Him and I stood in front of our formation of all those troops when we got back and went, hey, everybody, you have behavioral health, we have psychologists, we have all this help here for us. Suggest everybody goes, gets checked out, do what you got to do. And for anybody that's doubting, that it's really worth it, or hey, the leaders will look down at us, it was like, hey, actually, I got to leave right now because I've got an appointment in 20 minutes and I've got my appointment next. And then an hour after mine, first sergeant, he's got his after mine and all that. So the two of us are going. So if you can have your top two, your commander and first sergeant going, it kind of opened the door for all of them. I think they kind of feel safe and be like, oh, okay, well, if the leadership's going, then everybody should be able to go and not feel, you know what I mean? From it. So I think that helps out a lot. The Army's come quite a far way. There's so many resources out there for them with that. And then tying that back into the jiu-jitsu portion, it's massive. I think it helps all of us in so many different ways, kind of like what I talked about before, but especially for those in the military and those getting out of the military, whether they did 3 or 4 years or they did 20 or 30 years, it helps out. And I help work with a team online on one of the Instagram teams, Military BJJ, and there's a bunch of other organizations out there that we work with and trying to get veterans help. There's organizations they'll pay for veterans the first whatever month to year and give them a free gi. They just sign the contract going, hey, you have to train at least 3 times a week. We'll give you a free gi and we'll pay your membership to get people into jiu-jitsu. Because one of the big things that we see when people come out of combat or they're coming out of the military, when all of a sudden they step across that line and become a civilian, they lose the team aspect of things. In the military, whether you're at the lower level platoon or bigger, organizations, we're a team. We train together, we deploy, we fight together, we come home together, we recover together, and then we kind of go on that whole cycle, train, deploy, fight, and come back together. And I kind of relate it when I talk with some of our younger veterans and all that. I go, it's the same as our jiu-jitsu teams. Really, if you think about it, we train together every day of the week, morning, evenings, we're in there, we're training together. our deployment fight, hey, we're going to an IBJJF, we're going to a NAGA, we're going to whatever our tournament is. And maybe I'm not competing, but still my teammates are competing, and I want to watch them win. I want to watch them be successful. And we all go and we watch and support each other. And then we come back from that tournament and we kind of go, okay, cool. Hey, what worked? And because jiu-jitsu is such a, when I say intimate, not many other sports you have somebody sweating right on top of you into your mouth and all that. You get so close with your training partners that everybody, if I don't show up for a week, I've got half the people from the gym texting me and asking me, are you okay? What's going on? I haven't seen you all week. The military, I think, when you leave, you kind of lose that that brotherhood, sisterhood, that family connection, and jiu-jitsu provides that we're all together. We spend holidays together. We go to birthday parties together, and it's all, again, back to kind of the like-minded people.
Yeah.
We're in the same mindset, we're in the same thing, and I think jiu-jitsu kind of fills that gap, while at the same time helping your cognitive, things with your mind, your brain. It's giving you the physical stress. It's giving you a great workout. So much more for you than, yeah.
And kind of like I'm thinking about when I left Brazil, because I was in the Novo União team.
Yeah.
I was 15 years old in Natal. Then I moved to Rio de Janeiro and started training with killers out there.
Yeah.
We're about like 200 people from the Amazon northeast of Brazil. We were all trying to get it to the UFC. And at one point we had 16 of us in the UFC and 3 fighting for the title, which was me, Renan Barão, and Jose Aldo. And we had Jussier Formiga was the #1 contender for the flyweight division in the UFC. So we had like a bunch of killers. But just like you were describing, we did everything together. We woke up and did strength and conditioning at 7 a.m., straight to wrestling at 9 a.m., then go back home, rest, come back to the gym and train jiu-jitsu, and later boxing, everything together. Recovery didn't really exist, but we went outside of the gym and talk, and it felt like a family, and I don't think you can achieve anything in life by yourself. You need people.
No, absolutely not. Yeah.
And when I moved to America, I kind of lost that. I was like, where's my team? I'm here trying to find a new team now, and that's what I struggled with the most when I moved to America. I was 28 years old. I was about, I had like 15 fights, and I wasn't finding the highest level in the UFC, but I left my family and my team, and I'm here trying to find new people, and I never found it. I spent some time in New Jersey, some time in Albuquerque, Vegas, back to New Jersey. I could never find that. Yeah,
like that niche, that good grab.
Exactly what I totally relate to, because it really changed the way I fought and changed the way I trained, and it started changing my mind as well, because I lost my family, and I tell people all the time, you can't achieve anything in life by yourself. No. You need people.
Yep.
You totally do.
100%. And I think that's everything from corporate, from the military, fighting, you name it. Doesn't matter how great of a fighter you are, there's still sparring partners, coaches, teammates. You didn't just wake up one morning and go, all right, hey, I'm the UFC champ. Yeah. You had a whole road of people to help get you there. Yeah. So
true. Yeah. I had a conversation with Greg Jackson one time, and I asked him, because he built so many champions, but he also built champions that got all the way to the top and then lost their titles and had to rebuild back again and go back to the top. And I asked him, what happens with champions that kind of lose that level of performance and then have to go back to where they were? And he was telling me that when people usually, not everybody, but some people, when they get to the top, they think that they got there by themselves. And I kind of relate to that, because I had to understand how important people around me are to be able to humble myself and stay humble and understand that I needed my team. But he was telling me that the people that make it to the top and think that they did it alone, they stop doing the things that got themselves there.
100%.
And they stop doing the things that the coaches and the people were having them doing. And then they lose their performance, and then they realize, and that actually happened to me, So I'm curious, do you have any stories like that or anything about that aspect?
I see that, because I've worked for years now. I've worked with different sports teams, NFL teams, college basketball. One of the closest ones was Long Beach State basketball with Dan Munson, took him to the NCAA tournament and all that. And one of the things I talked to them about that kind of going along the same line, was the mentality of like the championship mentality. And I'll say, I think we're all guilty of this at some point in our lives. I had it too, a little bit earlier. Yeah, when I was in my like late teens, 20s, going into college even, was part of it. I think you hit on where you're working, you get to the top and you're like, all right, I got here. And you all of a sudden you start to lose that discipline of doing the daily things every day in and out that got you to that point. The other thing I think I see is when they get to that top champion, there's almost like a mindset switch. And I'll say that you talk to them and they'll talk about how much they love winning. And I'll say that's the wrong mentality to have. And all through high school and up through college, when I was competing, up to a point where I kind of remember there was a time where my switch kind of shifted, and that's where I kind of lost the edge on some stuff, was I went from my mindset used to be I hate to lose. And I think champions hate to lose, and then the people that lose that championship switch to the mindset of loving to win. Everybody loves to win. It doesn't matter who you are. You could be a complete loser and you still love to win, because everybody likes winning. Who doesn't want to win? Who doesn't like it? But a champion hates to lose, and a champion then that hates to lose will do everything they can in their power day in and day out to make sure they don't lose. And I think that's what's happened, is they hate to lose and they're gonna do everything because no one's gonna deny them that championship. No one's gonna deny them that next win. They finally get there and they fall in love with winning. They don't remember that they hate to lose. And then all of a sudden, boom, like that, they lose that title, and it's like, oh crap, I lost. And that fire then reignites in them, and now they got to redo all those steps to get back up there on the fact that they actually hate to lose. So
what do you think happens with people that hate to lose, but then they lose and don't do anything to get back to the top?
I think then that's when they flip that switch of kind of quitting. They stop. They instead of going back and going like, okay, there's no problem losing. We've all lost. I've lost. I know you lost. And then I think that's the difference of a champion, is that somebody can go, okay, hey, I'm not going to win every single time. And not that I'm okay with that, but I have to be kind of okay that like, okay, if I do lose, let me go reset. Where did I go wrong? And instead of looking at that loss as like, okay, hey, it's tearing down the building, it's like, no. What holes do I need to patch to lift me up even higher? And that's where you see some true champions that will work their way up, they lose, and then all of a sudden they come back 10 times better on the next one, because all it did was that loss fueled their fire to become an even better fighter, an even better competitor, an even better fill in the blank, CEO, football player, baseball player, whatever. They want to come back even better that next time so it doesn't happen again. Where I think we're the people that will then get to that point, they lose, and then they just keep rolling down, is I think they don't make that mindset switch. They become okay. They're still stuck on the loving to win. They're really not doing everything they did before to get to that point. And all of a sudden, it's so easy to start making excuses. Why, I'm old, I'm hurt, I got a lot going on in life. I need to enjoy my life a little bit more. It's like, okay, well, you can enjoy your life, or you can be, that championship mindset where you're dedicated to getting to that belt again. Yeah. But I'm sure you've probably seen this with fighters as well too.
All the time. And actually, when I stopped fighting, because I retired so young, I retired at 32 years old. Like, people did not understand. Like, to me, it did not come out of nowhere, because I was already thinking about retiring at 28, and I had a plan. I was like, at 30. I'm going to be done. And I remember having these conversations with Jose Aldo, like, by 30, I'm going to be done. I went to college, I have my degree, I'm going to do something else. I want to win in life, not just in this sport.
Right.
I didn't want to stay too long at the sport, because I didn't want to kill my brain cells. I have a brain to take care of, and I wanted to do all the things. So a lot of people were like, oh, why are you retiring? You're so young, you still have a lot to do. I'm like, I already did everything I could do in fighting. Made it to the top. I fought the champions, beat champions. I got to the highest level and competed in the highest level. But then I wanted to do all the things, and I knew how to do all the things. I think a problem that happens to a lot of athletes, and some have an amazing legacy, and they come back to fighting because they are so addicted to the winning feeling. And then also they don't know how to make money with anything else, just fighting. Right? I think if you learn 2-3 ways of making money, you're always going to be successful and financially independent. But if you only know one way of making money, then it's complicated, right? And I think fighters, they have that mentality of I'm going to become a champion, and this is going to be the thing that will lead me to retirement. I'm going to become financially free with that, but it's not realistic because MMA fighters don't get paid like football players. And then when the reality check comes, like they don't know what to do, and then they retire and it come out of retirement. It ends up being a big problem. And another big problem with athletes and the people in the military is identity. I love the topic of identity. I think 2 days after I retired from fighting, I switched my mind. I was like, I am Claudia, the entrepreneur, the business owner, the family person, the daughter. I'm gonna go live my life, And a lot of fighters, a lot of athletes, a lot of people in the military get stuck with that identity thing. I really want to help athletes and people in the military to understand how to get out of that idea of not understanding what is next for them.
No, absolutely. And I see that a huge on the flip side, like you talked about with the military, that whether you're enlisted, whether you're a sergeant, you're a lieutenant colonel, you're a colonel, you're a captain, whatever it is, they serve in the military for however long they do. Could be 3 years, could be again 20 years. And then the thing is, we'll retire on a Friday or get out of the Army on Friday as fill in the blank, again, Colonel Janson. And then come Monday, now I'm Mr. Janson. And people stick into that rank of, do you know who I am? I'm Colonel Janson. No, you're not. You were Colonel Janson last week in the Army. Today you're Mr. Janson. Today you're just Brian. And I think we get stuck on, for the military, we get so stuck on just the military. That is our identity. That is all that we are. That's all we are there to serve. And sometimes people lose sight on who they are as individuals, even throughout their military career. And so kind of back into the leadership a little bit of it is I always tell my subordinates too, is like, hey, the Army's hard as it is, all right? The Army makes it hard enough as it is, just for the way we deploy, we go to the field, we have to train, etc. Don't make it harder. And remember, at the end of the day, you have a family at home. Whether you're single, you're married, you're, whatever, you still have either wife, kids, boyfriend, girlfriend, parents, sisters, brothers, or whatever. You have a life essentially outside of the military. If 6 weeks ago, if I would have tripped down some stairs and God forbid broke my neck or something like that, the Army would have held a memorial for me for a day or two later. The unit, sorry to see him go, but the Army wouldn't have skipped a beat. Army would have kept going on with that. So I think it's probably the same thing. If a fighter unfortunately dies in a car accident, God forbid, that for anything, the UFC doesn't stop. The fighting world doesn't stop. So when we tie ourselves to just that one thing, I think we're limiting ourselves mentally, we're limiting ourselves of what we possibly could be, and we're forgetting kind of the big picture of everything. That we kind of tie, sometimes it's whether it's our job, sometimes it's our accomplishments either, or as well. And I'll say that from the military, I can say that from the officer standpoint. That yes, going to like West Point, our military academy is like a very prestigious school, it's very awesome, but a lot of West Pointers kind of have, there's kind of a stigma around them because they tie their identity, if you will, to that graduation. I'm a West Point graduate. It's like, okay, cool. That was an accomplishment you did last year, years ago for me, 20 years ago. That's cool, but that's not who I am. That's not going to carry me through the rest of my life. And I think we get stuck on our accomplishments. We get stuck on what our job is, and that's just like our one pigeonhole thing versus like, hey, step back for a second. What else is there to life other than this one little thing of fighting, Army, fill in the blank, whatever it is? Yeah. There's a lot bigger picture out there for us all.
You just can't see it when you're in it.
Yes, you can't,
When you are in it, you go like, this is who I am. What do you mean? Like, I'm the fighter. I'm the soldier. Like, this is what I am. But I think, with the switch of like changing to, I think the main problem is that professional athletes, they have to be 100% locked in with the competition.
Absolutely.
You are married to the game, literally.
Yep.
Married to the game. And then when you retired from that athletic career, now this thing was so big for you, but it's not part of your life anymore. And you have to go do something else, and you feel like you start chasing something else that should give you the same amount of all the dopamine hits and all the things you get from that athletic career. But like I always admire people that can transition from one identity to another, or the ones that can reframe identity when they are in the sport and the job, and they understand like, hey, my job is what I do, it's not who I am. Right? And like if you were talking to like a 20-year-old athlete that is a phenomenon, that really, like when you look at that person, you know, like that person is going to go far in this sport, and they are so good in what they do, but they can only see the sport. They cannot see their finances, their relationships, anything else. I've been there, right? That was me in my 15 to 20. What would you tell this person in terms of identity?
I would say for your identity, look who you're going to be, because at some time this is going to end, and how are you setting yourself up for success after this? You have free time right now. Even as a professional athlete, like you were talking earlier, you got training in the morning, and then your next training, and then you have a few hours off for recovery, and then you go train again, and you have a few hours off in the evening and all that. And that's like, okay, there's still some time in there. What are you doing to help set yourself up for success later on? Are you doing online classes? Are you doing maybe a night class, 1 or 2 a week? And it doesn't have to be a ton. If you're a professional athlete, say like that, you don't have to take on a full semester of courseware, but I can go, you know what? I can knock out 1 or 2 classes every 6 months or so to work for my degree, whether it's in business, accounting, you name it, whatever your interest is. So that way, if you do that and you're like, hey, I'm locked in for fighting, say you fight for 10 years or whatever, by the end of that, you're going to have some sort of degree. You're going to have some sort of other plan that you can go out, and now you're more accessible. You're a better sell and all that to the corporate world, or to whatever you want to do after that job is done, if that kind of makes sense. And I look at it, and I get the same thing with soldiers, and they're like, hey, sir, they'll talk to me like, hey, sir, how is it that you're a black belt in jiu-jitsu and you DJ at these nightclubs and stuff on the weekends, and then you're also in the Army and you're successful at that? How do you do all this stuff? And I was like, well, when I had to be locked in for the Army, I'm 100% locked in. When I'm getting trained up to go to combat, I am locked in. There's nothing else other than eat, sleep, and train, because I'm going into life and death situations. But when I'm back and I'm still just kind of keeping up the maintenance training like you do kind of in between fights and all that, it's like, oh, I'm doing other things in my free time. In my free time, I'll ask them, hey, have you seen this TV show? Did you ever watch Breaking Bad? And they're like, oh, I love that show. I'm like, I've never seen an episode. They're like, oh, how did you ever see that? I was like, because I'm doing other things. I'm like, oh, do you play video games? Oh, yeah, sir. Have you played the new Call of Duty? I'm like, I don't own a single system. I don't have an Xbox. I don't have a PlayStation. I have no other video game systems or anything like that. How do you have none of those systems? I go, you just asked me, how do I have time to go do and pursue all these other things and train in all these other aspects of life? That's what I'm doing with my free time. That's what I'm doing. A, stuff that I enjoy, but B, it's stuff that I can continue through life with in other ways of making money, like you said. That when this shuts down, the Army shuts down, I have other ways I can go do and branch and learn other things. And when it's time to lock in, boom, I'm locked in, and all that other fun stuff can kind of go aside. But I still have plenty of downtime here and there that I can keep plugging to make myself better in different aspects.
I love how you're walking us through that, because like as a fighter, you have a lot of free time. And this is what I did very young. I was like, I had the idea of wanting to be all in and locked in, but I was always worried about like, what is next for me? Like thinking about myself in the future, and then something, no video games, no TV, no distraction, no, like saying no to everybody. I'm like, I am doing this thing here because I know it will pay off later, and one of the reasons why I got the job I have in the UFC is because I have a degree. Imagine if I retired at 32, no money, no degree, like what are we
starting from scratch?
I have another 40, 50 years of life. And I think correct me if you think I'm wrong, but I really think that there's a little bit of ego that plays into the idea that I am going to be the next John Jones. I'm going to be the next Jose. I'm going to be the Cristiano Ronaldo. And I'm going to make so much money into this, and this is all I'm going to do. And it's putting all your eggs in one basket. Same idea of investing in one thing only, putting all your time into something that has expiration date. And if you're not thinking about what's next, it's going to hurt later.
And I think you could do that even on the corporate side of the house. Find a big CEO and find a big leader, whether you're talking about Elon Musk, Jeff Bezos, etc., that while they had their plans, whether it was Tesla, whether it was Amazon, etc., find them that that was only invested in one company or one aspect, and they're going to be like, nope, this was my main goal, this was my drive to be the John Jones of this industry, you know, and Amazon, but they still had their money spread out different ways. They still had other paths that they were doing to help refuel and, you know, drive money back into that machine of Amazon or whatever their actual goal was. And so I think you kind of see that, yeah, kind of to your thing of fighters, like, hey, yeah, you might be dialed in, but hey, you do have this other downtime, so what can you do if you got 6 hours, you know, between nap, get some food, get some recovery, stretch, whatever, but you still got time in there to do something else to help set yourself up for success later on, which, okay, cool. It could be you do become the John Jones, the Conor McGregor, or whatever, but even look at Conor was setting himself up with Proper 12 and all the investment companies and watches and stuff like that. And John Jones has a bunch of his other little side hustles and companies and everything too. So they diversify themselves, so even the top dogs are still have other avenues to bring income back into them, so that when there comes a day they go, okay, I'm done fighting, I don't just have this one bank account of my fight purses. I've got money working for me. I've got other avenues of income, and now I can use my success in fighting to help drive other aspects in life.
Yeah, it's like it's not that you are not going to become the next John Jones,
Yeah.
the next Cristiano Ronaldo. You might, and we want you to, but
Yeah.
also set yourself up for success in every other area of your life.
Right.
I believe there's like very strong pillars of life. Like your relationships are very important. Very, very important.
Yeah.
If your relationships are not good, not doing well, and you don't have a support system, it's going to be very hard to win in life.
Yeah.
I believe, you know, your spirituality, I believe, you know, family, finances is one thing that gets a lot of athletes in trouble, spend a lot of money, and then now they have to go fight again.
Yeah.
The paycheck to paycheck aspect of life does the same thing to athletes, the same thing that does to a normal corporate person does to athletes. And it's sad, but I think that's why I wanted to create this podcast, to have a lot of athletes listening to this type of conversation and get them to understand that there is so much more to life, you know. But from what I'm seeing in everything you do, there is so much discipline and consistency. And I see the locking in on you, and I can relate to it because I use the discipline and the consistency I learned from sports to anything. Like if I want to lose 20 pounds in the next 2 months, I will, because I know what discipline and consistency looks like. If I want to, like right now I'm studying for a very hard exam, I'm locked in from 4 a.m. to 8 a.m. every day. Like I know what it takes to win, right? And I feel like when you understand discipline and consistency, you can literally do anything in your life. You are transitioning now out of the military, so all these things are happening to you
as we speak.
Identity, you going through a huge transition where you have to use a lot of your discipline, a lot of your consistency, a lot of the resources you learned in the military to life. And I'm curious to see how that's going, how much discipline and consistency is important for that transition.
There's a ton right now, and it's also because now I'm literally having to learn how to be a civilian for the first time since I was 18 years old. I graduated high school in 2000, in like first week of June in 2000. 10 days later, I was in the Army. That was the last time I was a civilian and I could grow my hair long or a goatee or a beard or anything. So I'm literally having to relearn that. But there's also a whole different thing. I'm trying to learn how can I convert that discipline and consistency of the military to a civilian world. And so kind of like we were chatting about before, is that if I'm writing a resume for the military to go to another military job, that's too easy for me. I can tell them how I command and controlled all these operations and led this amount of people and led so many missions in Iraq or Afghanistan. I can do all of that. But if I'm gonna go try to apply to a job at corporate America, they're going, hey, well, we produce this product. What does that have to do with us? How is that gonna help us? So I'm kind of having to translate all of that into leadership and organization and all that to the civilian side. I'm trying to learn all of that and put together the resume. But I can't lose the discipline, and I want to say that you've seen on the military side as well too, is it's like every morning I'm up early, I'm either working out or I'm going to jiu-jitsu. If I can't go to jiu-jitsu because I've got work stuff to be at, then I'm still up in the morning in the garage, lifting, running, working out, etc. I am reading different books now on how to convert the military organization structure and leadership that I've done into civilian For example, I've just got done reading a book on the project management system, on PMP. That is very simple. There's like 5-6 steps to that system. It's based off of the military decision-making process, which is the way that we plan out our operations. Most times when we're coming over from military civilian, they're like, oh, you know how to plan an operation. How do I kick in the door, kill the bad guys, get out of there? They just see that little aspect of it where it's like, no, there's so much more to that on how do we get in, how do we train up, our medical, our resupply and ammunition, food, fuel, like there's a whole big process we have to do for that planning, which if you take that now, I can apply that to a corporate level of, hey, you have a project you need me to run or operations you need me to run. How does all that military transition into the civilian side? So now I'm kind of going, okay, it's the same lingo, you know what I mean? It's kind of turning, apples to orange or tomato, it's the same thing, but I'm trying to translate that into the civilian side. So yeah, kind of like you're studying for your exam right now, I'm reading stuff online, I'm reading books and all that of, okay, hey, how can I take all this military now translate it into civilian? And now I'm a little bit more marketable to a boss then, and as I go into the interviews and go, okay, hey, I might not know the exact product or exact way that your company runs, but that's just systems and processes. I can learn that in a couple of weeks. I can learn that in less than a month. In 30 days, I can learn your systems and processes. But what you don't have is I'm going to be at the right place, right time, right drive, ready to work. And oh, by the way, I can organizationally lead. And once I see your systems and processes, I can see how to improve that and how to drive towards that end goal for you. And so that gets, I'm trying to learn all of that civilian talk right now. So it's the same, kind of that same way.
One of the best skills I learned in my life in the last 4 years was to translate the skills I learned in fighting to literally anything in life, exactly what you were doing now. And as I was transitioning out of sports, that's exactly what I was doing. Like, how can I translate all these skills I have to all these different industries I am in now, and luckily I started building an Airbnb business beginning of my career, and I learned management. I learned so many things about business and like running my own business. I made so many mistakes investing and all that stuff too, that when I got into the corporate world, it was like, okay, this is a different monster, but my skills are transferable. And the second thing is that we are built different.
Oh yeah, 1000%. I think for us, the mental skill set of that we know how to win. We know how to win, and you might give me a problem that I don't know how the immediate solution is to it. But you know what? Damn it, I'm gonna go figure out the way. I'm gonna go educate myself overnight. Whether it's in fighting, and you're like, man, I'm going up against this fighter. They've got a really good armbar or whatever. I got to figure out, let me go dissect how they do it, how they set it up, how to defeat it and all that, work through that process and then do all the repetitions and train for it on how to defeat that piece of that game. Okay, cool. I'm on a corporate side. Here's a problem set that they have at this corporation. Okay, let me research it. Let me figure out how they do it, how, the process is supposed to work versus how it's being worked and what ways we can defeat that or fix that problem. But having that mindset of a winner, of like, I might not know how to beat this right now, but I'm going to. Give me 24 hours. Let me go pull up YouTube, Google, books, resources, call some friends, whatever it is. I'm going to solve that problem because I'm not going to let that thing beat me.
Yeah, so good. This is for the military, for athletes, for corporate people, for literally anybody. If you learn how to build a structure to solve a problem and you build that mentality of like, I cannot lose, I do not accept to fail, I do not accept to lose, and this is like the mentality I had when I left my little town in Northeast of Brazil. Like there was no other way around. I was either gonna go back to living the life I was living or win. So I couldn't accept to fail. So I love all the lessons you just shared. I hope that a lot of athletes and entrepreneurs and military people like you get to listen to this and learn all these lessons, because we've been talking about so many good skills that if somebody just take that and want to change their lives, they'll be able to change their lives through these lessons. So thank you for being here.
Thank you, Claudia. It's been awesome. Always love chatting and everything. So appreciate it.